All right, good afternoon. Just finishing up with the players. Had them in this morning. Had their normal lift to flush their bodies, a little bit of run, what we do typically after the game. Then we end up having a team meeting. Went over the goals that we did accomplish and didn't accomplish for this particular game. And then they meet with their positions. The units first go off offense, defense, and kicking. They go. And then we have a short walkthrough to do corrections at the end of the day, which is what they're doing right now. We have about 15 minutes to correct all the plays that we need corrected, and then go from there. But much of the same from yesterday. Obviously, very disappointed in the loss. Some things that we need to improve on, of course, but also some things to take away that are positive in that game as well. We have all talked about those and talked about those last night, but I'll keep it basic from there and then open it up to questions. I would just say our continued run offense really just all 11 guys really committed to that style. I really believe that's the Chicago Bear way, us having the ability to run the football like that. And that's a commitment by the coaches, number one, and then commitment to by the players. Obviously we have a good 1-2 punch with the running backs, and obviously that third dimension with the quarterback certainly helps out. But you don't get that done without guys straining to get the second-level blocks at the offensive line, moving the front line to begin with, and then really the perimeter blocking by the tight ends and receivers. You get second effort, and the growth that, Pettis and Mooney and EQ and, all the guys have had, Cole, Komet, all the guys, Griff, Wesco, all the guys that have had that perimeter second-level blocking to spring those, deeper type runs is a commitment by those guys, and they've done a really good job of really buying into that. Some of those guys aren't very big. Let's be honest. Mooney's not that big of a guy. Pettis is not that big of a guy, and they're in there cracking on linebackers and defensive linemen, and man, that takes some guts to do that. And the guys are gritty, and they're getting in there, and the runners are running good with their pads down. So it's really creating that for us.
On the touchdown pass to Harry, I'm curious what your assessment of that play was, first in terms of Justin's pre-snap recognition of what he was seeing, and then obviously not an overly complex play, but it hit in rhythm and timing.
Yeah, first I think Justin looked out there and there's 10 guys. That was a positive. So I thought we had a good advantage at that point, but he just saw the safety come out of the middle and take number 3 there, and it was really good by him. We had a solid protection there, so the pocket was really nice, and he hit him, and Harry won the leverage and hit him in stride, and it was a good touchdown.
Hey, Jackson, we're in the captain's seat yesterday.
Yes, he was.
Is that going to be a permanent captain, and was he voted on like the other captains were at the beginning of the year?
Yeah, so obviously the loss of Robert, and I did this on Saturday because I wanted to talk to the leaders of the team before I did it, and so it took me a minute. And somebody asked me the question if I was going to replace the captain, so I did that. He was the next most vote getter when we voted for it before, so we just elevated him up to be captain. I announced it right before we got on the plane after our mock game on Saturday. So he's certainly deserving of that. He played, had a pretty solid game, had another interception, 11 tackles. So he's having a really good year for himself, but he's also leading our group too, so we're excited for his opportunity.
I wanted to ask you about 2 deep shots that you guys took. The first one is the first play.
Yeah.
It looked like EQ had a step. Was the throw a little short in your evaluation? And the second one's the ball to Bayless, but it looked like it was right there.
Yeah, so the first play was something we thought we could take advantage of. We've been running that protection and running a couple different routes off of that, and then we thought we could really do a good job of running by the guys, and we did on both sides. So yeah, we got to let that air. We got to let that air out. Jay knows that, and just a little bit underthrown on that one. But let's talk about the other ones. So Bayless, obviously, we're working him on the side there. He worked himself open all the way down the field, and that ball was on the money. Did a great job there. Later in the game, he also threw one on the money to St. Brown in the end zone when we got him to jump off sides into the end zone there. Well, that was a wonderful throw, and I've been saying it all along. He's a wonderful deep ball thrower. He can put it on a dime, drop it in the bucket, whatever metaphor you want to use. But he certainly had a couple good ones there.
You guys have been so successful with the run. Do you need to be more successful than you've been with the deep shots, just knowing that you're probably going to get some favorable now?
Yeah, I think that's every part of your passing game. Your passing game is you got play action pass, you got movement passes that are out of pocket, you stretch the horizontal part of the field, but I think it's very important to stretch the vertical part. Not only on the sides by the numbers, but also the middle part of the vertical parts of the field. So I think that we're doing that, and we're going to continue to find creative ways to do all those things.
On that the first one you talked about with St. Brown, the one that was a little bit underthrown, is that a ball that you expect him to adjust to a little bit, it's a two-way street. Quarterback has to be a little bit more on the money with that, but can the wide receiver do something more to help him out in that circumstance?
Yeah, I think that when you got him beat by that much, that was maybe 4 yards, I think. At one point, it might have been space. I guess we'll have to go to the GPS on that. But, yeah, I just think you got to air it out, let him run under it.
So many times you see receivers try and fight back and kind of throw their arms up and get a flag out of it. Is that taught by coaches?
Yeah, those guys use that. Certainly that's some gamesmanship that I'll let the guys use their instincts on that one.
Your defenses in Indy had bad games, but is this one a little more of a red flag? Not just because of the totality of it, but it just seemed like that was an indication that the hits principle that you obviously are big on is not having the same hold as it did. As it has.
Yeah, like you said, it's one performance at a time. Certainly, when we've had top 10 defenses. Certainly where I was before, and you'll have a couple games. Where that is. We're building upon what we're doing good right now. So, we're playing good pass defense. We're taking the ball away. We're doing a lot of good things, but where we have to improve is run defense. We got to improve the run defense. We got to improve situational football, third down and red zone. But it's about growing. It's about growing and getting better with each position, and then growing into that hits principle. So it starts with obviously the hustle, and then the intensity to play your run gaps. Has to improve. That to me is what it really is, and that's fundamentals and techniques of the coach and the player. So we have to improve on that. So again, like I said, we're taking the ball away pretty good, but situationally we got to improve some. So there's good and bad in there. We just got to make sure we keep improving the bad.
Analysis, what is the source of the third down situation? Because not only were you giving up first downs, but a lot of yards. That's I imagine alarming to you to have those big plays.
Whenever it's just execution. Guys got to execute better. We're looking at it with a critical eye. How can we help our players put them in better position? That's certainly the coach's job to do that, and we're looking at that, and also the execution part of it. Are we teaching the techniques right? Are we teaching the fundamentals right? And it's just about that basic, And like I told the players after the game and even at halftime, I said, when we look at the tape, you're going to say, man, that's all it was? And we're going to say, yeah, that's all it was. And it's that much detail that you got to have in there, and the violence you got to be able to play up front at the defensive line level and the linebacker level to be successful. And again, they have some good players up front. Zach Martin knocked us out of our gap a couple times and all that. But obviously I know Zach, and he's a good football player. So, all pro player. So, but we got to be able to overcome that.
Pollard on the 18-yard touchdown and the 54-yard touchdown, he went untouched on both of those. Is that just like a missed assignment thing with gap integrity, or is that a hustle thing that you look at when you see on the
Yeah, the first one was gap integrity up front. We end up getting knocked out of our gaps in a couple ways. They're A gap and B gap, and then it's just the alley. The middle safety was right there. We got to do a good job of taking up that space and making that tackle. That does not have to be a big tackle. That has to be just a good shuffle into getting to position tackle. And sometimes what happens is when you're a deep player, you cross your feet, okay? You end up hopping, and hop equals a crossover, and you get yourself out of position. So we just got to keep drilling that, keep doing that. When the ball does come through the secondary, the guys in the secondary got to get them on the ground.
What is your rule on kick returns and touchbacks? If it seems like when the ball has gone in the end zone for a kick return more times than not, you guys are very comfortable to take it to the 25. Is that the case? Is that your rule?
Yeah, that's been our general rule, that, how deep it is. Sometimes we'll decide if we feel like we got an advantage. It's not a hard, fast rule for every game, but we certainly talk about the yard line in which we want to do that, bring it out or not bring it out.
And in particular, with Halas Jones back there this week, was that even more emphasized with him? Hey, we're going to put you back there, but be conservative. Was that part of it?
Yeah, I don't know if that conservative is probably the right word, but we certainly had a yard line that we were going to go with, and the ball hit where it was, and we let it run out. So.
What's your diagnosis on the quarterback sneak that got out the gates for them? And what went haywire?
Yeah, it went right into the B gap. You know, it went right into the B gap, and our penetrator got there and didn't have his eyes up and missed it. You know, and then I thought Eddie did a good job once he got into the secondary because we were punching our gaps with linebackers. They were punching the A gap, B gap. It went into the A gap and B gap on the other side. It went on the B gap to the left, defensively speaking, and we just got to have our eyes up to make that tackle. I thought Eddie did a nice job of getting him on the ground after that.
On the Dak Prescott touchdown run, appeared to be a similar concept to what the Giants were using with Daniel Jones. If so, is the coaching point the same, where it's got to be better eye discipline? And if that is the case, is that something that you guys can work on in practice, or does that just come with playing live reps, playing live?
Yeah, I think the Daniel Jones was more of a boot, and they were pinning our defensive end, and their run-pass option off of that. This was more of a swing option, where you see, the tight end come back with the jet motion, and that's just responsibility football. Once you start going to swing option, somebody's got to dive, somebody's got to be inside, outside, that swing guy that's coming around, and we didn't have that, and we did not execute well in that particular game, in that particular play.
The trade deadline tomorrow, what is your role as a head coach during the day tomorrow, and is it any different than any other Tuesday?
No, I mean, obviously I have more conversations with Ryan. You know, Ryan and Ian, and they're working their tails off on whatever they're doing, and they'll say, hey, coach, this is what we got, just like they do anytime, even like with the draft. Hey, we're talking about this and talking about that. They'll just inform me of what's going on at that point. And then if I'm, they'll keep me abreast of everything that's going on, so.
And obviously, losing sucks for everybody on the team, but when you find as many positives as you did from this loss, do you almost find players walking away feeling a little better compared to the other losses?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we look at every individual performance, every game in itself, and there's positives and negatives for each game. When we won 33 by 19 points 2 weeks ago, against New England, there was positives and negatives to that game. So we're trying to improve on the negatives, learn from the positives, build upon those, and then keep our eyes forward and move to the next performance.